What's up, guys? Welcome to the Cross Trainer series, where we aim to bridge the gap between real firearms training and airsoft for both civilian and military training. In this video, we're joined by our two guest instructors, Ryan and Mojo. We're both currently active duty law enforcement.
Ryan, happy to be here. Been a cop about 15 years and look forward to the video.
Mojo, been a cop now for about 4 years, prior military, and I'm also very happy to be here.
In this episode of the Cross Trainer series, Ryan and Mojo are going to be talking and introducing us to dynamic shooting. In particular, acceptable sight picture, shooting on the move, and earning your shot. Take it away, guys.
Awesome. So when we look at a couple of different things, and dynamic shooting is whatever you presumptively think it is, right? So it's things that aren't flat range oriented. So we're not standing still and shooting at something. So this is more geared towards shoot house work, environmental considerations as a cop on the street, or even at an airsoft match.
Like, so literally anytime you're not on the flat range, at the range shooting at a paper target that isn't moving, and you're not moving.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Okay.
I mean, dynamic is a fancy word, but it's pretty much just like anything other than fundamentally based shooting. So we look at a couple of different things from shooting on the move, again, earning your shot, acceptable sight pictures, and what we look for in those specific avenues. And I'm pretty much just right now, I'm just gonna hit on shooting on the move, which will tie into other stuff. So shooting on the move is super simple. Like we were just talking about it earlier. You know how to walk with a glass of water that's almost full, right? So you wanna get that glass of water, fill it up to the brim so you can bring it up to the bedroom. So when you wake up in the morning or at night, you could sip as much water as you want, and you wanna fill up to the brim. I take that same approach to shooting on the move. With a handgun, it's a lot easier. When the handgun comes out, when I'm doing my stuff with my handgun, I am anchored down only between my two hands. I don't have a third point of contact with the rifle. The rifle will be more, I guess, will be induced more by movement because my whole body's moving, because the rifle's anchored to my shoulder. So as I'm walking, doing my thing, it does that. So we look at the same principles of finding a pattern as it pertains to rifle and pistol. When we play Call of Duty, we play any of these kinds of video games, you see that predictable pattern that the scope is making. And you know when it's gonna intersect again for you to be able to pull that trigger and get that hit marker that you want. I look at the exact same thing as we're shooting on the move. I see this intended target that I would like to engage and pull the trigger on, understanding that I would not be taking a precision shot on the move if I don't have to.
Right.
Because if it comes time to engaging somebody in airsoft or whatever your career field you're at, whatever, if I need to take a shot that saves a life, why would I move?
Right, so the idea is shoot when necessary to shoot.
Yeah.
Not moving.
There's obviously a lot of different circumstances if I'm passing like a danger area. Like if I'm moving from one side of the building to the other, gotta cross a window. I wouldn't be moving faster than what my ability will allow me to engage a target.
Don't shoot while sprinting.
Yeah, while sprinting, right? So you see a lot of guys that they're literally sprinting and they have the gun pointed in a direction. It's like, are you gonna be able to effectively put rounds on that target? Probably not. But going back on the basic fundamentals of shooting on the move, one of the biggest things I take into consideration, I take heel to toe steps. I walk normally, but I just walk heel to toe, so I'm not like stomping my feet on the ground. I find that predictable pattern, and for me, I guess if I was over exaggerating it, it's a V. I make this V. I shoot at the bottom of the V. Press, 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 press. And you will find a rhythm. You will find a beat as you're walking, which will allow you to be able to shoot and move. Let's say we're moving and making an exterior movement from a vehicle to the front side of a door. I need to walk. I need to walk and shoot. We're gonna move at a very slow, controlled pace to where I can still process information and accurately engage a target. So I'm gonna be doing that, and I have that pattern. So if I do need to take a shot from an area that I'm covering, that's my responsibility, I can take that shot if I need to. And that applies to rifle and with pistol. So I don't necessarily need to like pick up the rifle to show you, because realistically speaking, go to the backyard, strap on the airsoft gun, and just walk with the gun.
And similarly to the cup of water example, your arms are performing the shock absorption for the movement.
Exactly.
So when you're holding a cup, your arm is taking up that movement of your body. Now that differs when you transition to a rifle, because your arms are no longer taking all of that.
Because you have the anchor point on the shoulder.
Right, so that is connected to the part of your body that is moving most. And so it will take more concentration or more practice, or I guess familiarity with the timing of that predictable movement to get used to firing while moving. That may come more naturally with a pistol than it would.
It's easier with a pistol than it is a rifle. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I would have to agree that moving with a rifle presents certain challenges over that of a handgun, and something to consider with this topic and in the movement aspect of it. Working from the ground up, our biggest consideration is for walking, and you know, when you get into the debates of, you know, should I change the way I walk when I'm shooting, and you say no, and I agree with that, is the big consideration should be slips, trips, and falls. Really, that's your only avoidance. And when you hear Mojo or myself or anyone else that's, you know, a relevant trainer, teacher, instructor in the field talk about that heel to toe. The heel to toe is less about helping you with your sights and more about mitigating or, you know, attempting at all costs to prevent a slip, trip, and fall. That method or style of going heel to toe is going to allow you to hit obstructions and not fall over them as easily versus dragging your feet or going toe to heel where you could hit the edge of something and fall. Same principle applies to moving backward, where now we reverse that process and we go toe to heel. So if you encounter an obstruction, you can at least mitigate the risk of a slip, trip, and fall. Those are in many ways separate from the alignment of the sights and the, you know, pattern of sway and all that good stuff that you know, that we're working towards getting through the optic. But you don't want to dive too deep into thinking that how you walk is going to make your optic any better. Some of that, yes, if you're going to walk flat-footed and crazy with the legs, but the focus should be to walk heel to toe, so you're reducing the chance of slipping, tripping, and falling, and trying to use your torso and above to work the optic. And again, that's an opinion-based thing that I carry. There are others who say, oh, I use the majority of my legs to balance the optic. In doing that, I think what can happen is you can start to negate or neglect some of those principles of not stumbling and falling because you're working so hard to get your legs to create this smooth sight picture that, you know, now you don't see an obstruction or you don't feel an obstruction because you're walking so perfectly to keep your sights that you fall now. Well, if you've fallen, you've defeated the entire purpose of moving from one point to the other and needing to effectively shoot. So
I think the other thing to take into consideration if you were talking about shooting and moving, again, I mentioned it earlier, but it really is important for you to go out there and test it. Like, again,
the styles.
People, yeah, there's multiple styles to it, just like gripping a pistol, whatever the case may be. There's a universal way to get stuff done, absolutely, but there are people that, like, for example, airsofters that know how to shoot and move pretty gosh darn well. You look at the speed softening community; they can do that. They're sprinting everywhere and they're putting accurate shots on fire, on target.
It also helps that they're shooting a million BBs.
They spam the crap out of these BBs and with their double triggers and binary triggers and stuff like that. It's crazy. But to that level, they understand what their body needs to do to be able to effectively put bullets on a target, regardless regardless of all the circumstances at fact. And like, again, when we play, it's one of those things where we're accountable for all the BBs we fire. I don't pre-fire. I don't spam the trigger. To an extent, it's a controlled fire. If I see something, I will shoot until I get an intended result of a hand being raised or whatever the case may be. So it's important to go out to actually test this stuff. Like when you go out to the range or when you go out to the field or when you go out to your backyard, figure out what your body likes. Everyone's built differently. Everyone's some shorter than others, some taller than others, some bigger, wider.
Skill levels,
higher
or lower.
Go and test it. Go and test it and figure some stuff out. Now, the other thing that we were going to talk about also was shooting in depth or earning your shot. This is a big thing from the guys at Project Gecko. We've been following a lot of their progression for the UF Pro Series, and the dude brings up some phenomenal points. So I want to make sure I give credit where credit's due on this one. We've been doing a lot of range stuff, especially in a dynamic environment, whether it be like felony stops, high-risk stops. We're working in an environment within a house, a structure, whether it be airsoft and or real life. The thing was, the problems that we started to see, if you were engaging a target over there, Matt, and all of a sudden I step over here, I start shooting here. Let's say you start taking fire from another angle you can't see, you step to my right. I immediately have shot you, and I violated one of the rules. And I get it. It's airsoft. I get it.
Right.
But if we're trying to use our best...
And that happens all the time.
Right.
Especially when you've got 6 or 7 dudes on a corner, and the guy in the back is engaging people.
Yeah. So let's say you were in your own little world shooting.
Right. So
and
I'm in front.
Yeah, you're in front.
Yeah.
And then Ryan's in his own little world shooting, and I'm talking to you like, hey, bro, I'm going to cross to your right. I'm going to start moving. Ryan doesn't hear this. I start moving. He smokes me.
Yeah.
And there are countless real-life videos of this actually happening in real life. So we try to take that and apply it our best we can to training. Like every time I play Airsoft, I'm literally shooting, and all of a sudden I hear BBs whizzing past my head. I'm like, oh, there's someone shooting behind me, and I get a little bit of anxiety because like, although it's an airsoft gun, I'm like thinking real life because I'm imagining looking behind me and seeing the muzzle flash of a rifle, and I'm like, dude, you're shooting right next to my head. Yeah. So one of the rules and principles that we like to try to follow is like if we were here and that's the area in which we're taking contact from, this is exactly where we need to be. As the centrifuge guys say it the best, muzzle past meat. So in order for me to earn the ability to shoot and earn the right to be able to fire with my weapon, I need to earn that shot, get my muzzle past your meat so you can see me. And there are some other real life examples that we could use, and I'll let you touch onto that one if you would like to.
Well, yeah, really, it really just boils down to whether you want to shoot or need to shoot. You know, sometimes you need to shoot, and regardless, there's no difference really. I mean, I guess there could be with airsoft. You know, when you're out and you're playing the game per se, you might want to shoot, so you're spraying a target area, and you know, for the translation between that stuff and law enforcement, like you said, we're accountable for those rounds. So whether or not I want to shoot or need to shoot really doesn't matter. I have to earn the right to shoot and put myself in the safest position to do so that I don't harm him or any other people that are out there. Because we can't always know what's going on behind us. There's new officers arriving on scenes. There's, you know, all sorts of parameters, things going on that we need to be aware of. And yes, situational awareness is a vast umbrella.
And
that's ever changing.
People tunnel vision really easy, especially in airsoft. You get, you know, your eyes on the prize, and then you're not paying attention to what's going on.
Exactly, and those are those considerations. So we're trying to make an already confusing, dynamic, and chaotic scene as predictable as possible. And one of the ways we can do that is by having some sort of online mentality, or, you know, earn the shot, as we talk about.
Now, would there be some circumstances that we have to shoot from? We call it from the back of the bus. So
sure.
The best example you use, if we have a long, narrow bus, I have someone standing up near the front of the bus, and I have to shoot from the back of it, and shooting past you. Are there circumstances where we have to do that?
I mean, it's entirely possible that any circumstance could exist that is a bad situation or a bad day for the guy who's involved in it. I'm not going to, you know, try to say, nor would you, that no, that doesn't exist. That's where, you know, solid training, good communication, and countless hours of repetition with your partners are going to come into play. You know, I mean, I could probably put Mojo deep in a bus and step on the front door and communicate with him to stay down. And
right.
May be able to effectively do that because he, you know, hears my voice, and trains well with me, and has an understanding that if Ryan's telling me to get down, I better stay down. That may not translate with a guy who I don't work with every day, and I might say, hey, get down, and he may not stay down long enough. So you want to try to put yourselves in the position where you're not shooting in depth, or from the back of the bus, or from the front of the bus for that matter. But it could happen. So
I think, like many of the other points that we've hit in the Cross Trainers series, a lot of different techniques and skills have exceptions to the rule,
absolutely,
right? Or modifications to what you've learned.
Sure.
And the key takeaway for me in all of this is that you really can't make that kind of decision without proficiency at a base level.
Absolutely.
Right? So if the idea is, okay, you need to earn your shot, you need to get online or in line with people that you're shooting with to maximize safety, to be the safest you can. Unless you've trained that to proficiency, unless you've practiced that to, you know, easily be repeatable, you shouldn't be making the decision to shoot from behind or the back of the bus, or to put people in a less than ideal safe condition unless you are proficient otherwise. Absolutely. To be able to make that decision.
It's a good point, and that's the biggest thing we want to make sure we get out and say. Like, a lot of the times when we do these kinds of drills on the range, we have a live fire range that we do, and then we have targets on the left side, in front of us to the right. We will air gun it, or use airsoft guns for it, and you can do that in the backyard. You can have a target labeled Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta, 360-degree range with airsoft BBs. And you could sit there and be like, hey, your third buddy, you and another buddy are working, you will call Alpha, we'll identify the target, I'll turn to shoot, and then it's up to Ryan to earn his ability to shoot. So he could push over to my left, push over to my right, we'll shoot together. Then that will break down, we'll like, hey, Charlie, oh, it's over there now. We'll turn around, we can turn around together, start shooting. As long as I see him, I'm good to go. So there's a lot of different drills you could do with airsoft guns, even in the backyard, and it's phenomenal. The thing is, I just want to stress it again. So like, there are circumstances where I was shooting in a sense from the back of the bus at Copperhead. We were in a massive living room where my buddy's in front of me watching one window, and he has a door behind him, and I'm over here firing from another angle. All of a sudden, I see a cost guy walk front of the door. I'm like, he's on your left, I'm shooting. I let him know, I'm like, I'm firing. And in essence, I shot from the back of the bus.
In that case, good communication, I think, was key.
Absolutely.
You didn't do that without letting whoever would be in that danger zone know that was happening.
Absolutely.
And loudly enough that the rest of the team knew what was going on.
Yeah, and obviously with airsoft, it's not life and death, but I try to like think about it. It's like, what if I'm responding to an active shooter with a buddy? Right. We have multiple shooters. We're looking for this guy. All of a sudden, they're flanking us, they're moving on us. It's like, bro, I will save your life. I'm going my best to do so. And if I need to take the shot, I will probably try to do so. But if possible, I could also break down and go to him. And it's a lot of, we could throw so many if, ands, or buts up in the air, whatever, but it's a common practice that we try to do from a real world perspective to bring it into Airsoft. And honestly, we might see a lot less safety issues because, like, dude, with a gun that shoots 400 feet per second with 0.2 zeros, and now the guy has like 30s in it or 28s in it, do you want to get shot point blank in the back of the neck?
No, especially by someone on my own team.
On your own team.
Yeah.
If we could avoid that, I think might be some good things to follow. I know a lot of people may not. It's hard, especially if you're in the heat of the moment.
Right.
It's definitely going to be harder, but I think it's something that's a very good common practice and something that should be.
Yeah, it can't be one of those always or never situations. Yeah. It's whenever possible.
Yeah.
Try to avoid.
And especially as it relates to Airsoft, it's hard enough getting your team to move up and to gain ground and to take objectives. It's hard enough facing another force as it is. If you start eliminating your own dudes because of poor practice and poor safety and not getting online with each other, and you have a whole bunch of blue on blue, like, you've just made it that much harder. And it's not even real life at that point, you know. So
yeah, there's plenty of drills to be able to work that. You could do it by yourself. Like, we go to the backyard, we set up these cardboard targets that we use on the range. We use airsoft guns, and we'll have the guy essentially look, hey, you cannot stray from Alpha to Bravo. You have to bring the gun up or down, and we're going to simulate the people around you. So he does it by himself. Can he safely do that? Also, boom, he's good to go. Awesome. Then we'll add a second guy in there. Then after that, you see them start moving guns around each other, being comfortable, and also flagging. We see a lot of that in Airsoft. Like, dudes would be like they'll straight up flag you and be like, oh, you're good, whatever. Or like you're walking somewhere. And
or even if you've got a handgun and you're like, oh, dude, there's something over there.
Yeah.
Just walked right past.
There's a lot of anxiety that comes to that when we play Airsoft. When I played Airsoft with my Real Steel buddies, we all went out and went to Copperhead, and we were getting flagged left and right. And obviously we understand it's an Airsoft gun, but the only thing I was worried about was my teeth and my eyes. I'm like, I don't have Eye Pro or Ear Pro or whatever. It's like, it gets a little scary sometimes. But again, if you plan on using Airsoft as a training tool, do the best you can to follow the 4 firearm safety rules. Treat, never keep. Treat every weapon as if they're loaded. Never point a weapon at anything you do not intend to shoot. Never point your, treat, never keep your finger off the trigger until you tend to fire, and keep your weapon on safe until you tend to fire. Know those rules and don't mess it up. Like, that's literally the rules that we try to abide by. We try our best to apply that to Airsoft, especially if we want to translate it back to real steel. Right? So that's, those are just, again, common practices that we like to go with. If you choose to do it, awesome. If not, hey, have fun. It's a sport.
And that just about covers the basics of dynamic shooting. Shooting while moving, an acceptable sight picture, and earning your shot, or getting online with people, making sure you're being as safe as possible. If you guys want even more helpful training tips from Mojo and Ryan, tune into our other cross-trainer videos.